the most amazing actress. She's done so much work, as you can tell from that, and that's just a part of it. So I'm very pleased to be here with Beverly. We're sort of on the same pier, I guess.
Yeah, we've done,
the same pier.
Yeah, our careers are kind of the same.
Same peer group, and I'm just so delighted to be here with her. And how should we start, Beverly? Do you want to talk about what to me is interesting is all the incredible things you've done and the different, stars that you've worked with as well. And I think people would be very interested to know how some of those early experiences that, well, we were talking before about the Fred MacMurray show and the way that was shot, which was kind of shocking to me.
Oh, absolutely shocking. Fred MacMurray, Don Feddersen was going to wanted Fred MacMurray to do a situation comedy. And he went to Fred and he said, would you do a series? And Fred said, sure, I'll do a series. He said, oh, well, you would? He said, yeah, I only work 3 months out of the year. And Don Feddersen said, well, if you do a series, it's 8 months. I mean, we all have to work 8 months. He said, well, I can't do that. But I'll do the series if you want me to. And so Don Feddersen said, well, he said, well, so you see, I won't be able to do it because I have to leave in 3 months. So Don Feddersen put it together, and he had 39 scripts. We did 39 in those days. 39 scripts. He had all the clothes. I wore a half wig so we could do my hair fast. He put it all together, and he went to Fred and said, will you do this? You only have to work 3 months if you would just come back the last week and just for a few pickup shots. And Fred said, you're kidding. You really going to do this? He said, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to go. So we did. And it was the damnedest thing that I have ever worked on because I took home maybe 4, 5, 6, 7 scripts a night of different shows. And you would do, a scene here, and then a scene there, and then a scene someplace else. And you never knew, you couldn't follow it very well. You could never change your hair. Ever change your hair. And I remember one time I thought, I'll put a ribbon in my hair. Little blue ribbon, looks so good. 4 months later, they said to me, did you put a ribbon in your hair? I said, I was so afraid. I said, oh, well, I don't know. I thought to myself, 4 months ago, maybe I didn't put a ribbon in my hair. How do I know? So anyway, they had to stop production, and they had to go through all the film. Of course, they found out that I had put a ribbon in my hair, and they were just hysterical. So you could never do that. And I remember one day I came on the set and they said, we're on tonight. I said, we're on tonight? I said, yeah, we're on. I said, did we finish a script? Yeah, So we had a wonderful gal called Katie Barrett who was very tall. And she was our script gal, she would go over our lines with us and that kind of thing. And she, of course, when Fred MacMurray wasn't there, she played Fred MacMurray because she was tall and she was, she was my Fred MacMurray. And so when Fred MacMurray asked me to marry him, I said yes to Katie Barrett. That's how it was. And they had it timed.
Then they would come back and do all of his shots?
Mm-hmm. They had it timed. He would come in, we would do the master shot, as you all know. We would do a master shot. And, okay, see how long that took? Okay, they had it all timed. Then we would do Fred's close-up. Mm-hmm. Okay, now if we had enough time, if something didn't go wrong, we'd do my close-up. If not, goodbye, on to the next scene. That's what we did. And then we came back after Fred went, fishing or Europe or wherever he went. We'd come back and we would pick up everything. We would do all the close-ups. We would do my shot if I hadn't done my close-up. And that's how we did it until it was over with. And I remember once, we were at the very end of the show and of the season, and I did a scene with him, with Fred. He came back because he said he would come back for a week, and so he came back and we did a scene at the kitchen sink, and it was very funny. It was cute, and he said, I'm going to do your lines with you. I said, what? He said, I'm going to be behind the camera. I mean, by the side of the camera, and I'm going to feed you your lines. I said, you are? He said, yeah. I said, okay, swell. Oh, God. I'm so used to having Katie Barrett, and we had a good thing. I really wasn't very funny that day. I mean, I wasn't used to having Fred MacMurray around.
The real Fred MacMurray.
So, it was interesting. It was a fascinating way to shoot a series. Yeah, 3 years of that. Yeah.
We can't imagine, we can imagine what the business is today for a young actress is so different. I wondered if you could talk about that. In other words, I think it's very different. We didn't have managers and agents and all of that.
And I did a lot of stuff for Roger Corman. I did a lot of, I did anything. If somebody handed me a script and I could walk, I did it. And I remember somebody coming up to me one time and saying, tell me about It Conquered the World. What? Tell me about It Conquered the World. It conquered the what? The world. Did I do that? You would do your gig, and you get your money, and you pay your car payment or your apartment or whatever, and that was it. And you go on to the next gig, And you never paid any attention to this jazz. I mean, you never thought you were ever, nobody was ever going to see It Conquered the World, for goodness sakes. So, you paid no attention, not of this earth. I mean, who was going to see that jazz,
Right.
Nobody, So, it wasn't until much, much later, years later, that they became cult films. And, now they're cult films. I could have cared less. I just worked, you just give me the script, and if you like me, I'll do it. That's the way it was. And and in those days you did all your own stunts. And I remember I did a show called Gunslinger with Roger Corman. And, oh gosh. Anyway, I did Gunslinger with Roger Corman, and we did it way out in the San Fernando Valley someplace, in some little hut we had with a wood floor, freezing. It was raining. We had a little heater. You know how Roger was, if you know Roger. He doesn't spend any money on anything. So we had this little heater. And Allison Hayes, I looked great in this movie. She was in it, and John Ireland was in it. And and I am the sheriff. And my husband dies, and I'm the sheriff, and I'm going to clean up the town, and all the girls that work in the saloon out of my town. This is a clean town, and I'm going to get them out. And Allison Hayes, of course, is the head of the brothel, and so because it was in those days. And so anyway, she was so upset on this movie, and she didn't know how to get off of this movie. She really didn't know what to do to quit this movie. So she's on this horse, and she's looking wonderful, and it's lunchtime, and she's sitting there like this, and I could see in her head going, and all of a sudden, just before Roger said cut, and we're gonna go to lunch, she went, and she fell off the horse, and she broke her arm. Ooh. And Roger said, it's all right, Allison, we'll fix that. So he got her up, bandaged her arm, put a wonderful, cape around her. She worked the rest of the movie. She couldn't get off. And so then he says to me, he said, all right, now the last scene of the movie is going to be when you go in to the saloon, and you're going to have this big fight with Allison and all the girls. And we're going to film that on a stage. Oh, how nice that will be. A little warmer than where we are. So we said, okay. So he said, all right, now, before we do that now, this is the last shot of the day, and you run out of the saloon, and you run over, and you jump on your horse, and you ride out of town. I'm not really good at all of that jazz, but I thought, okay. So I ran, and I thought to myself, think high, think high, think high. Just think high, and I'm running. I broke off the horse, right over to the other side. The cameraman said I saw her go up, I never saw her come down. So all right, Roger said, okay, let's do that again. So I come running down the saloon things from the outside, and I twist my ankle. Ooh. Oh, wow, do I twist my ankle? And I can't run, and I'm limping. And he said, okay, I'll tell you what, we're going to have a box. We got the run on the first thing, so we'll use that run, and then you just get on the box and get on the horse and ride out, and we'll cut it all together. And I said, okay. And so that's what we did. And so that night I go home, and I get into a really hot bath for about 3.5 hours, soaking this, foot. And the next morning, it's like this. And I can't walk. I can't do anything. And so I call a friend of mine, and he comes and picks me up. He takes me to the set, and I say, Roger, I'm sorry, but I can't work. I can't do this fight. And he said, why? I said, because I said, you saw me do my ankle yesterday, and look how it's swollen. I can't. He said, don't you worry. I said, oh, God. Okay. So the wardrobe girl comes in, and she takes my Levi's, and she cuts them. And then she takes my boot, and she cuts it. And then this man comes in with a little black case. And he said, let me see your ankle. I said, okay. And so he has this large needle, and he goes, shabung, 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 about 5 times, right in the bone. And voila.
The pain went away.
I worked all day. I did all the fight scenes. I did it all. I didn't work for about 3 or 4 months after that. I could walk, but Roger has a way of doing that. So,
oh my God.
It's, in those, it was so fun. It was so fun to be in movies those times. I mean, I did a movie called Kurusu, Beast of the Amazon, which I'm sure you've all seen. And anyway, it was with Kurt Siodmak, and we did it in South America. We did it in, where did we do it? Brazil. Yeah, we did it in Brazil. And nobody spoke any English. All the crew was German. Kurt Siodmak was German, but he could speak. And who was the guy who was the star of that with me? Do you remember? Where are you, Gene? Huh? John Bromfield. And John Bromfield married a girl that was a dancer in the movie. And so they were very busy because they got married, and so I was all by myself. I didn't have anybody to talk to. A couple of cute German people, but I couldn't understand one damn thing they said, so I thought, well, I can't do that. So anyway, this was the most difficult movie I think I have ever made. Hot. It was so hot. And there was no makeup man. And there was no honey wagon. And there was no place to go to the bathroom. You had to get into a truck. And then the truck would take you to the fazenda. The fazenda was the big coffee plantation. And to the coffee plantation's guy that ran the plantation, his son had a little house. We didn't go into the big house, the little house. And so you'd go to the little house, and then the truck had to pick you up and take you. Oh, my God. It's unbelievable. And there was, I did all my own makeup. And
really?
All my own makeup, all my own hair. And I had red hair. I have all sorts of color hair. But this time I had red. And so I said to them, should I take my dye? And they said, well, yeah. I said, well, should I take my peroxide? I said, oh, you don't have to take your peroxide. We have peroxide. Okay. So I took the dye. Didn't take the peroxide. There is no peroxide.
No.
There is 10% peroxide that you put on your cut, but there's no peroxide for your head.
Your hair.
And so almost every other day, I had to put this dye with this 10% peroxide just to bring it up enough so I could do the shot for the next day. Oh, Lord. And bugs. There was bugs everywhere. And they had a scene. Kurt Siodmak called me 20 years later, and he said to me, could we have tea? I said, tea? He said, yes, I'd like to have tea. I said, oh, okay. You want to have tea with me, Kurt Siodmak? I haven't talked to you for 20 years. I'd like to have tea. I said, all right. So he comes to my house, and I make tea. And he said, I want to apologize. For what? He said, you remember the scene with the boa constrictor? I said, yeah. Now, the boa constrictor was as long as from that clock to that little thing over there. He was huge, this boa constrictor. Big constrictor. And he apparently falls out of a tree, and he wraps himself around me. And so they have a native boy on this end, 2 native boys on this end, and 2 native boys on that end, holding the boa constrictor, and they wrap him around me. And I'm on the ground, and I'm screaming and screaming. He says, cut, cut. He said, you all right? I said, Kurt, am I not supposed to be screaming here? I mean, I'm on the ground, there's things wrapped around me, don't I scream? He said, yeah, are you okay? I said, of course I'm okay, let's go, let's do this thing. Okay, so I scream and scream and scream, scream. Oh, okay, that's that, okay. 20 years later, comes to my house, we have tea. He said, I really want to thank you for doing that scene, because if those 2 little men had let go, or those 2 little men had let go, there was no way we could save your life.
Oh,
The boa
God.
constrictor would have just, and that would have been it. So then we had this village, and John Bromfield and I are in this village, and the Indians have captured us, and here we are, and it's made out of palm fronds, you know, dried. Now, they built this village probably a month before we ever got there, and hot in Brazil, wow. So it has gotten, these palm fronds have gotten cooked and cooked and cooked, and they're just cooked. And so we're in the middle of this thing, this village, and Chris, the director says, okay, throw the fire, and so they throw 4 of these things, and it goes pow! I mean, there is a wall of flame. And I stood there. I just stood there. I was so shocked. And John stood there. And I looked at him and I pushed him. And he ran into this flaming thing. And I thought to myself, well, this is it. You know, really, Beverly, you better run. You better run. So I did. I ran through, and I burnt my hair, and I burnt my eyelashes. And those are the kind of things that the young girls today don't do.
Don't do anymore, no. Have you ever really said no to a director and had a big fight with the director about something? I didn't think so.
No, I don't. I usually can figure out a way to do it. I remember Charles Boyer. I was doing a television show with him, and the scene is set up in such a way that he is standing in a certain way, and there's a couch, and then he's standing here, and the director says, all right, you go over to Charles on this next line and talk to him there. And so I get up to move over. He said, no, you can't. You've got to go around. I said, I have to go around? He said, you have to go around and go over, talk to him on that side. I said, but he's right here next to me. He said, no, you can't do that. I said, why? He said, because he will not be photographed from that side of his face. You've got to be kidding me. And I remember, well, I went around. I mean, it was ridiculous. I mean, dumb thing to do, but, you know, Charles Boyer is Charles Boyer. And then I remember a director saying to me once, a little bit after that, which is your best side?
Yeah.
And I said, my best side? He said, yeah, which is your best side? I have no idea what my best side is. You know, I never paid much attention to the camera. The camera better damn well follow me. Mm-hmm. Because I did my work, and if you as the cameraman can't figure out where I am, then that's too bad. Yeah. I don't give a damn what side it is. No. You know, it's important to do the work.
But those actresses did, those big movie actresses.
Oh, yes.
They knew where all the lights were.
All the
they
lights
knew
were,
everything.
yes.
Claudette Colbert also had a good side and a bad side.
Mm-hmm. And that just isn't how I work.
No,
I mean, I just don't, when you don't work that way either.
And I never know. I feel so stupid because I don't know.
And I don't know what, you know, I don't pay any attention to where the key light is, and it's ridiculous. I mean, if you're really bright, you know where your key light is, and you know the thing, and but, you know, that's just not how I act. I just don't do it that way. You know, I'm prepared, and I know what I'm doing, and I do it well, I think, and I'm sure that the cameraman will have to follow me. I'm not following the cameraman.
No, I agree.
You know? I agree. I mean, I just, you know, but I think when I did movies, it was really so fun because I did some of the damnedest things and got to do them, and I like to I like to be down and dirty. I like to, when I say that, I like to have, I like to go through the swamp. I like to have my hair look like the wrath of God. I like no makeup. I like it hot and looking yicky. And I mean, I like that. I enjoy that kind of stuff. I'm not the shall we have tea? Really do that too well. But I can.
Yes, if you have to. Yes, exactly.
So that's kind of where I come from.
Yeah. What kind of, I'm sure this is a question.
I'm sure it is.
But in here, I'm sure it's a question in here. But I mean, because I think that's sort of what we're all about. What kind, is there any particular kind of advice that you would give to a young 22, 25-year-old woman?
Oh, it's always
in
so
our
hard.
business. It's so different. It's so hard, isn't it?
It is hard. People ask me that all the time. What kind of advice?
Or would you just advise them to stay away?
Well, I mean, I think that if you're going to be an actress, the hardest thing that you ever decided to do, because there are 50,000 million of you out there that want to be actresses.
Yeah.
And, you could be the very best actress that ever walked the pike and not work. I mean, that just happens. On the other hand, I think that if I was going to be an actress today, I would certainly get a tremendously good education. I mean,
that's interesting.
There's been many times, in my career where it just was dry, and I thought to myself, gee, if I could do blah blah, but I can't do blah blah because I don't have a college education. Too bad. I wish I had. So I would.
So you didn't go to college?
I did not go to college. I went to college for 6 months, and that was it. And I joined. I wanted to get my equity card, and so I went into playhouses and went to did equity and until I could get my equity card, and then I did a little theater, and now I was a member of equity, so that was great. But I wish I had done the college thing, so that if that dry time that came and nothing ever came my way, that I could say I could be a teacher, or I could be a doctor, or I could be something, that it would be wonderful. But I can't do it now because I need 4 years of college, which I don't have.
I see.
So it was lucky that that things worked for me, but I would suggest that you get an education. I think that's. And I was married to a man that had gone to SC and was very bright, and I always felt like I was not as bright because I didn't go to college, and he was brighter, and I would like to have been brighter. Yeah, I think bright's good.
Bright is good. How did it happen then that, I know your husband built your hotel? How did that, I mean, what kind of transition did you go through to go into that kind of thing?
Well, my husband was a builder and a developer, and I was an actress, and then when I married him rather late in my life, and I was in my late middle 30s. I was around 35 when I married him. Had my first baby when I was 39. Had my second baby when I was 42.
That was late in those days.
And that was late in those days. And I married a man that had 2 children, so I became a stepmother, which was ridiculous. I don't ever do that, girls. And so anyway, so he was a builder, and we went through ups and downs and ups and everything, and he found this piece of property, and he thought he would build an apartment house. And we were very good friends with Casey Stengel. And gee, I'm glad you're here, Mr. Walsh. And so we had to borrow money because we never had any money. And so we had to go to the bank and borrow some money. And so there was a little bank in Toluca Lake called the Valley National Bank. And Casey Stengel's brother-in-law owned this bank. And Casey, of course, knew Fillmore very well, and so he said, okay, Casey, he said, you go find out what Fillmore wants to do because he wants to borrow some money, and so come back and tell me the whole story, okay? So Casey comes over to Fillmore and to this piece of property that was owned by Gene Autry at one time, right on Vineland, right in the valley. And so he talked to Fillmore, and he said, Fillmore, you know what? You ought to build a hotel. And Fillmore said, Casey, I don't know anything about running a hotel. You know, it's easy. He said, it is? Yes, you hire a manager, you collect your coupons, you go to Europe, and you live happily ever after. And Fillmore came home and told me that, and I said, don't pass go, don't collect $200, do that immediately.
Mm-hmm. So you did it. Okay.
So we built this bloody thing, and it was a Howard Johnson for 20 years.
I thought, yeah.
Yes, it was a Howard Johnson for 20
remember
years, and we had a contract with Howard Johnson, and we didn't have enough money to go to court and say, ta-da, we don't want to be Howard Johnson anymore. And as Howard Johnson, in 20 years, Howard Johnson went through a lot of different ownerships and all of this stuff, and there were people who said, I don't want to stay at a Howard Johnson, you know? Howard Johnson, the name Howard Johnson here in Southern California began to kind of wobble. And so we didn't know what to do because we couldn't go to court, we couldn't fight them. And so we decided that what we would do is that we would call it the Beverly Garland. Howard Johnson. So that's what we did. And it got to be kind of known as the Beverly Garland. And finally, 20 years was over, and then we went independent. But you have to have a flag meaning you have to be a Hilton, you have to be a Howard Johnson or a Holiday Inn, or...
So then you switched it now to Holiday Inn.
So then we knew we had to have a flag.
I see. That's what you call a flag.
That's what you call a flag. And so we tried to go independent, but it's impossible to be an independent hotel because in today's world, you have to advertise, and to take one ad out in Sunset Magazine costs you, you know, a mint of money. And if you have a flag, the flag does that because they advertise all of their hotels. They advertise
Makes sense.
Holiday Inns, and, you know, the Hiltons, whatever. So we went Holiday Inn because it's very family-oriented, we felt, and we're very close to Universal. And as Universal began to do more and more of what they do, a lot of families come to our hotel because we're a block away from Universal, and so we work very close to them, and we have kids suites there, and we have, you know, kids eat free, and your grandmother eats free, all of this jazz, and so it's been good. I mean, we opened that hotel in '72, and we're still there, and it's been good for us, and Fillmore loved that, and he built it himself, and so there we are, and I'm still there, you know.
So, but it was great because if you weren't acting, you had that.
I had that, and I still have that.
I mean, that's a very, very nice place to be.
And yeah, it's good because, you know, now I don't do that much acting because I'm 125 years old.
They don't want us.
And
they don't want us when we're 125.
And so I go to work every day because I have an office there at the hotel, and so that's really good, you know. So it's been good for me. It's been wonderful for me. It's been
I
good.
would say so.
Yeah, we have 255 rooms, and we just took over the restaurant, which we're in the process of, you know, changing and making it look a little more hip than it did forever. And so it's good. Yeah, I mean, it keeps me going and keeps me, you know, I like it. Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Yeah, I have a little office. My son has the big office because he does all the work. I have the little office. Good. Yeah.
That's great. And you travel a lot.
And I travel a lot. I go a lot. I've decided I'm going to travel as long as I can walk. And so far I'm walking, thanks to Roger. And no, but so I do that. And we're going to go to Antarctica and see the penguins. We go to Santiago, Chile first, and then we go through the Drake's Passage, and we go to Antarctica. It's gonna be fun. And I really decided to go to Antarctica when it was hot, you know, summer. You know, now it's cold. I'm not so sure I really want to go, but I'm going.
But you're going. You're going.
Now it's cold, you know.
I think Beverly is what you call in our business a trooper.
A trooper.
A trooper. Now, there can be other questions, but first I'm going to ask some questions that have already been turned in. This first question is, what is the best experience that you've had in this business? And on the flip side, the worst experience. You've had so many, I don't know. Is there a best and a worst?
Well, I think, you know, I think the most fun experience, of course, was Kurosu Beast of the Amazon, because that was the damnedest thing I ever did. But, you know, the worst experience, I'm sure there is one. There's been a lot of bad experiences. I mean, you know.
You choose not to think about it.
Yeah, you know. But I think the worst one was my very, very first Western. And I went in, and the man said to me, the director said to me, "Do you ride?" Do I ride? Of course I ride. Okay. So we get out there, and it's very, very cold. We're way out in the San Fernando Valley somewhere, and the guy says to me, I think what you ought to do is get on the horse and just, you know, ride him a little bit and get used to him, and, you know, be good, you know, and then he'll get used to you. And okay, so I get on the horse, and away he goes. He goes. And you know that thing that's on the...
that thing that you hold on to.
They say that's for roping. Don't believe that. You hang on to that. And away he went. And I could hear someone say, "Come on back. Come on back." If I could come back, I would come back. And finally, the horse just got tired and came back.
So he took you back home.
So the guy says to me, the director says to me, "All right, now, Beverly, this is the very end scene. You have to ride as fast as you can right up to those stones. Stop, get out your rifle, and shoot the guy. This is the end of the movie. It's very important." I said, "Okay." By this time, my legs are shaking so bad. And this horse, he turns around and looks at me like,
Yeah.
"Where did they get you?" So, okay, first take, go, all right. Action, and I ride in, and my hat comes off. Cut. You gotta have your hat on. You gotta keep your hat on, Beverly. And you're not riding in fast. I mean, you can't just come in. You have to really come in, you know. Okay, so I get my hat, and so I do, then we do it again. All right, and so I ride in as fast as I can, and not very fast, but fast. And I get the rifle, and I go, "Cock it! Cock it! Oh, God damn it, Beverly, don't you know how to shoot a rifle?" I said, "Oh, God, you have to cock it." I said, "Oh." I thought it just was an automatic thing. You pull this little thing here. Okay, and we're going to do it again, Beverly, and you've got to ride it faster. You just are not riding in fast enough. This is the end of the picture, and you've got to really ride in fast. Okay, so I get in. I ride in, and I go to get the rifle, and I go like this, which is not correct, girls. You have to go like this, because the horse went, and when he laughed, he hit my nose, and you could hear it crack in the valley. You could hear it crack. And the guy came in and said, "It's all right, Beverly." I said, I can do it. He said, "Beverly, better get." I said, I can, believe me, I can do it. He said, "Beverly, let me tell you something. Your nose goes from here to here." Goodbye. I was replaced in about 3.5 seconds. That was my first Western. That was one of the worst things.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I was.
I mean, to be fired.
To be replaced, yes. I mean, it's
fired
better,
or
it's
replaced.
better to just to have done it with a big nose. I mean, you know. But they didn't think that.
No. That really breaks your heart.
Yeah, yes, it was. Not good.
Not good.
No.
Not good at all.
Not good.
And the best?
The best. The best in my career?
Yeah, if you have one. A best.
You know, I don't know what the best was because they were all so different and
So different?
and so interesting. And I guess the best in my career was, I think, you know, the stuff that I really loved was doing Playhouse 90.
Yes.
And Lux, you know, doing live
That
television
whole
show.
time there.
It was so exciting that it just drove you crazy, and you would, you know, you'd have to go off and you change your clothes and get it, and it was just the best. You know, it was wonderful, and I think probably the best, most exciting too was, you know, when Rudy Mattei was looking for somebody to do DOA, Dead on Arrival, and had seen me in a play. I had played the daughter in I Remember Mama, and I was doing a summer stock thing down at Laguna, and asked, you know, my agent asked if I could test for this role, and I did, and I got it with Eddie O'Brien, who I thought was really a wonderful, wonderful actor, and really, I tested with him, and he really tested well. I mean, you know, he gave me it all. You know, he didn't just walk through it; he just did it. You know, good, and so I could be good. You know, because you're only, you know, you can't be good by yourself. Maybe if you're a singer. And you just get up there and you can sing all by yourself, you can be wonderful. But when you're an actor, if you don't have an actor or an actress work, then you can't make it. Because I need what you give me, and you need what I give you. And if I give you this good stuff, you get the good stuff too. You know, that's the way it works. We work as a team when we're actors. And all of you that, you know, I'm sure all of you know that, you know, when somebody really works with you, just wonderful things happen. Wonderful things that you sitting in your living room going over your bloody lines doesn't happen. But boy, when you work with somebody and they are good, boy, you could be so good because they're so, it works, and it's the most exciting thing in the world, isn't it?
Tremendous energy. Tremendous. I mean, you know, if it's this way now, I mean, you just must have been
I was a cracker.
Oh, boy, were you? I bet. Okay, now let's see. Would you kindly explain a little about what CART?
Oh, California Artists Radio Theater.
CART is, and how someone would get involved in it.
You know, call Marvin Kaplan. I mean, you know, he knows. I don't know. Peggy Weber just called me one day and asked me if I would, you know, like to be a member of CART. And you know, we do radio shows, and sometimes, and she tapes them, and she sends them all over the United States. And you just take whatever she gives you, you know. I just finished one. I think I had two teeny little scenes. But everybody has what everybody has, and it's wonderful fun. And, you know, I started off when I was a kid in radio. I went to high school in Phoenix, Arizona, and went to the radio station, and, you know, they had seen me in a play, because I always did little theater no matter where the world I was. And so they had seen me in the theater, and so I got to do radio, and then I had my own little show for the community chest where I tell the story about, you know, something that happens to the family or whatever. But the community chest comes in and saves everybody's life. And I narrated the whole thing and did that. And I wish I could tell you. I have to find out how you really do get involved with CART. I'll have to find that out, and I'll have to let you know.
Okay.
Because I don't know. All I know is somebody called me and said, you want to be part of CART? And I said, do I want to be part of CART?
I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Well, this girl's name's Anne, and
Okay.
Anne, afterwards you must come up and we'll try to help you some
Yeah,
more.
we'll try to figure this out.
Okay. Oh, this is hard. Who was your favorite leading man?
Well, you know, there was Bing Crosby, and there was Fred McMurray, and there was my favorite leading man was David Niven. I thought he was the funniest man and charming man. I was madly in love with David Niven. Too bad he was married, but he was so cute. And we would go to lunch, and he would tell me these stories, and he was clever and charming and just the best. I mean, I loved working with him. I just thought he was wonderful. And I've worked with so many wonderful, wonderful people. But there was something about David Niven that pulled at my heartstrings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This goes
did
on
that.
and says, what can you say about Charles Boyer and Fred McMurray? We know Fred McMurray only worked 3 months a year.
Yes.
And Charles Boyer only had one good
One
side.
good side, that was all he had.
Do you have anything else to say about them?
Well, you know, Fred McMurray was one of the kindest, nicest men,
Nice man,
you
yeah.
know, that you'll ever meet. And you know his wife.
Yeah.
And June Haver. And, you know, she went to a nunnery, had a terrible love affair, and decided to be a nun. And so she went to be a nun. And Fred McMurray had a wonderful marriage and 2 children, and she got cancer and she died. And so finally, the nunnery didn't work, and June left, and somebody asked June Haver and Fred McMurray separately to go to some kind of a something in Hawaii, and for the stars to come and talk and blah, blah, blah. And they did, and they went, and they were both very sad. And Fred was sad, and she was sad, and so because they were both sad, they kind of got together. And
It lasted a long
that's
time.
what sadness does.
Yeah.
And they got married, and they have 2 kids. They adopted twins, 2 little girls. And he said, I could never, ever have been a father if I hadn't done my 3 sons.
Really?
Yes, he said.
Well, didn't they have? But he had children. He didn't.
He had children before, but that's over with, and those children. And they,
What? What?
And, so, and he said, you know, I answer their questions by the scripts I get every week. He said, that's how I do it. That's how I become a father, by the scripts I get.
Oh.
Yeah, so funny. It's funny. He's
That's-
a charming man, very straight-laced, you know.
Yes.
Very quiet, and it was so funny. So the first, we're married now. We get married in the show, and I said to him, all right, now, and when I married Bing Crosby, when I did the Bing Crosby show, when I was married to Bing Crosby in the show, we had this room, and there was a bed this way, and there was a bed this way. I slept here, he slept there. Now, a few years later, Fred McMurray and I get married, and now we have a king-size bed. And I said, Fred, you know, we're going to sleep spoon style. He said, what? I said, yes, we're in love. I said, and we're married. And I said, and it's important that people see this, that they really feel that we have this relationship. It's very important. He said, gee, hope June doesn't come to this set. So cute. Such a cutie. Such
That's
a
very
cute,
sweet.
cute man. Oh,
Sweet.
a doll.
And Charles Boyer, anything special? about
No, Charles, but I never slept with Charles Boyer.
him? You never said. Okay. Going on. Okay. Now, what was the major turning? These are good. What was the major turning point in your life, career-wise?
Well, you know, I think one of the biggest things in my life was I married this man by the name of Fillmore Pajot Crank. My name is Crank. And I wanted children desperately. I really wanted children. And I married, as I told you, late. And I was working a lot. And when I first married Fillmore, and then I got pregnant with my little girl, Carrington. I named her Carrington. And I really sat down, literally sat down with myself and said, you have to make a decision here. What is going to be the most important thing in your life? Is it going to be your marriage and your children, or is it going to be your career? Because you have to tell yourself now what you really want. And because I could have gone to New York, I could have done shows, Fillmore was not an actor. He was a businessman. And I really sat down and said, okay, what is it going to be? And I really didn't know what it was going to be. I mean, you know, I could do it all, probably. Not well, maybe. But I sat down and said, no, you know, what it's going to be is no matter what, is my marriage and my children must come first. And they always did. And Fillmore used to say to me, I always know when you're working because at 3:30 in the morning I can smell the onions, you're making a casserole so that when you get home tonight we can all eat, you know. And I did all the cooking and I raised my babies. Naturally I had help, but I didn't go to New York. I remember one time UCLA called me and wanted me to do a play, and I said, you know, Fillmore, UCLA called today and wanted me to do a play. He said, when do you do it? I said, what do you mean, when do you do it? He said, well, when do you have to do it? I said, what do you mean, when do you have to do it? The curtain goes up at 8:30. 8:30? How do we eat? I said, I knew then. No. So I didn't do a play. And there are many things in my career that I did not do because this came first. And that's how I've lived it. And I'm so blessed that I've been able to have most of it. I've had a great career, a fun career, and I've got the best children in the world. I mean, the best. So, you know, I made that choice, and it was a really...
It's a good choice.
It was a damn good choice.
Yeah, the right choice. Yeah. That's fabulous.
Yeah, it was.
Did you have, I don't think so, but anyway, did you have a particular mentor?
Well, you know, the woman that I looked up to when I was starting off was Betty Davis. I mean, I just thought that she was the best.
Me too.
You know, just the best.
The best.
And I was waiting on table, I remember, and down at Laguna, and she came in with about 8 people, and I happened to have her table. And I had just done a play at the Laguna Playhouse. And she said to me, Miss? And I said, yes. And she said, you know, I saw you in a play. And I want to tell you, I thought you were excellent. I have picked the right career.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. All right, did your parents approve of your career choice?
Yes, you know, it was when I was, my father said to me when I graduated from high school, he said, what are you going to do? What are you going to be? And I said, and I'd been working, you know, on radio and plays, you know, in high school. And I said, and I had gone when I was in Glendale, California. It's where I grew up, in Glendale, California, and I went to kindergarten, grammar school, and then I went to high school in Phoenix, Arizona. But before I did that, I used to be in plays, and I would go to the little theater, and I would try to get, you know, and I would play the maid or whatever, and I just loved being in anything I could get my hands into. And so my mother said, you know, I think you should have some training. I said, I should? She said, yes. And I said, okay, what do we do? She said, I found this woman, her name is Anita Arliss. Now, I don't know whether any of you are much too young, but there was an actor by the name of George Arliss. Do you remember him?
Yes.
Yes, and he was English. He was very, very, not an attractive man, but a wonderful character actor. And his sister, Anita, wasn't attractive either. And so she became a teacher. And in those days, you have to understand, this was early 40s. And if you taught drama, the studios listened to you. If you found somebody, you had a pupil that you thought was good, the heads of the studios would have you come in and bring your student because they listened to these teachers because nobody had a lot of agents and they didn't have all that jazz. We didn't have that stuff. So I went to Anita Arliss, and the first thing she taught me was grace. You must have grace. How do you get grace, Beverly? You pick the balloons. Okay, we picked balloons. We got that, Grace, got that down. And then she'd give me a little thing, yeah. And then we did diction. A-E-I-O-U. A. That, all diction, we did that. And I think I went to her for about 3 months. And my father, who was a traveling salesman, said, we're moving. We went to Phoenix, Arizona, and said goodbye, Anita, and on the way I went. So now I go back to my story. I graduated from high school, and I work in Phoenix. I work at the Little Theater, and I work in radio, and so I work in any school play I can get my hands on. And so my father says, what are you going to be? I said, he goes, you have to work. I said, well, I think I'm going to be a nurse. You're going to be a nurse. I'm not? No, you're going to be a doctor.
Oh, that's unusual.
Doctor? Yeah. I said to my mother, I can't be a doctor. I can't be a brain surgeon. I can be a nurse. I mean, I can empty a bedpan, for gosh sakes, but I can't be a doctor. So she said, what? I don't know what to do. I said, I just can't disappoint my dad. I don't know what I'm going to do. She said, I know what we'll do. Why don't you call Anita Arliss and see if she'll take you back as a student? I said, okay, because we're moving back to Glendale. So I called Anita, and she said, Beverly, I think you're very good, and I think that it would be good to have you come back, and we'll learn more things. And I said, okay, that's good. So I decided that's what I would do. I would be an actress. I couldn't be a doctor. I couldn't be a brain surgeon, for goodness sakes. So I came back to Glendale, and it was summertime. And in the fall, I was to go back to Anita. And she said, I have an in to all of the studios and to all of the people that own the studios and run the studios, and I will take you and get you in, and I think we'll be fine. Okay?
Very good.
Very good. So summer went and fall came, and there was a phone call, and she died. She had a heart attack, and she died. Well, that was the end of that. I had signed up to go to Stevens College because all my friends said you have to go to a finishing school, and I figured I had to finish. But
finishing school?
Yeah, Stevens was only 2 years at that time.
Oh,
so you finished, whatever. I don't know what finishing meant.
I don't know. I mean, that sounds like
yes, finishing.
Like being a lady.
Well, I probably would have been.
You missed your big opportunity.
So anyway, I couldn't do that. So I decided I would go to Glendale College. I went to Glendale College for about 4 or 5, 6 months, and that was not for me. So I just decided to go and get my equity card and see if I can't work, and that's what I did. And so that's what happened. And then when this agent saw me, and I did DOA, Dead on Arrival, I did that, and
was that your?
That was my first movie. And it was a disaster because it was very good, but I made a tremendous mistake, and I certainly did learn from that mistake. They were very excited, and they paid me a tremendous amount of money, paid me $500. And I was, in this movie, and I had a very good part. And they asked the publicity man to take me to some Ciro's or Macombo or someplace like that. All those places were around in those days. And we went, and we were with a lot of people, and someone said to me, I understand that DOA may be up for an Academy Award. What do you think? And I said, oh, I don't think DOA will win the Academy Award. I was just told it the way it was, you know? There were some really good pictures out there. Well, you don't do that. In Hollywood, you don't tell the truth.
No, I know. It's a hard lesson.
It's a terrible
I'm very
lesson.
bad at that myself. Very bad. Oh, boy.
So they came back to the producers and they said, you know, this girl doesn't appreciate anything you've done for her. You've given her this incredible part. You paid her all this money, and she doesn't care. Well, in the meantime, my agent has me up for parts and says, call the producers of DOA. They'll tell you what they think of her. Well, they did. They told him. They told the other producers what they thought of me. And so I just couldn't work. I could not get a movie. I could not get an A movie. There was no way. And so I just had to work. So I joined the Players Ring, and I did a lot of plays at the Players Ring, and I did television, and in those days, you know, television was never going to last. Oh, never going to last. I mean, that's a little thing, but it's not going to last. No, it's only movies, you know. And big stars, of course, would not do any television at all. Now they do everything. They do all the commercials. They do everything. So it was tough. I mean, I finally got a movie, The Joker's Wild, with Frank Sinatra. And then I made another mistake because I did this wonderful movie with Sinatra, and then some people called me on the phone and said, we're doing a show called Decoy, the story of a New York policewoman, and you will be the star of it. We'd like you to test. And it's a undercover policewoman. So you'll play all sorts of ladies of the evening, you'll play nurses, you'll be in prison. I mean, you'll do everything. And I just thought, oh, how fun. So I tried so hard to get an A movie, and decide I want to go back to television. So I did, which was probably not the smartest thing I ever did. But, you know, as I said to you, you know, you got to pay your rent, you got to pay your car payment, whatever the world it is. And, you know, somebody gives you a script, you go, work, you know. So I went to New York and I did that. And it was the most fun, most wonderful show. And we did 39, and we worked under incredible conditions because we did have a makeup girl and we did have a hair girl, but you know, we changed our clothes in the middle of Schrafft's, and you know, we took cabs, and you know, I mean, and they sold it syndication, but they didn't sell it. They couldn't wait to see if they could get it network, so they sold it syndication because they were really in a hurry to try to see if they could get some money. And so, you know, we're filming in the streets of New York, and nobody ever sees the show in New York, and nobody ever sees the show in Los Angeles. Those are the two places that they didn't sell it syndication. So nobody knew what I was doing for a year and a half. You know, they thought I died. And, but well, I look back on it now, it was a wonderful thing for me to do. Oh, not that it, you know, certainly didn't do a hell of a lot for my career probably, but it looks great on my thing now, you know.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was fun. It was great. And I played all sorts of roles and had a wonderful time doing it. And we did 39, and they ran out of money, and so I had to come home. And I did come home, and nobody knew where I'd been, and so I had to start all over again.
You mean you did that, the television was, instead of getting another film, was it?
Yes.
In other words, you could have...
Well, I had an
if you
A
waited.
movie. I should have waited for another A movie.
I see.
And another A movie. Instead of that, I did television. And nobody was doing television then. You know? Not a lot of big people were doing television.
Because that certainly would have...
But, you know, I did it. I loved it. It was good. It was okay.
Right, okay. It is, but I love the thing, too, where you said you made the mistake, because it's true. I did that out here, too.
You did?
Oh, yeah, but not for myself, but it's my husband. I said, that's a terrible show.
Oh, dear.
You know, it was a show that he would do. And I meant it, you know.
Yeah, you see, you can't tell the truth.
But you
No.
can't do that. You can't say about
Don't say
something
it.
that you're involved in that it's not good. Richard Dreyfuss just did that in London, and was supposed to do The Producers.
And what happened?
He went on television and said, I don't want anybody to come and see it until after Christmas. I'll be all right by then. And I don't know the details, but he's not doing The Producers.
Oh! God, I wish he'd talked to me. I could have told him.
Nathan is going to London to do it, or went to London to do it.
Yeah, you have to be so careful, girls.
Because
Just tell
he was honest. He didn't feel ready.
Nope, you can't be honest.
But the producers, I'm sure, did not appreciate
Nope,
that.
they did not.
They did not appreciate that.
Nor
So
did
you see,
The
see a lot of
DOA
people do.
producers didn't appreciate me either.
Okay.
So there
All
you
right.
are.
All right. Do you have anything you would have done differently? Well, you've sort of.
I've done a lot of things.
You've done a lot of things. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell. Well, you've talked about some of them. Okay, what was the most hilarious moment of your TV experience?
Oh, jeez. These are terrible questions. They're great questions. I wish I could answer them. The most hilarious. Golly gee. There must be something funny.
I'm sure.
I'm sure. I wish you were there. What it was. What was funny? There were so many kind of funny things.
Well, there certainly had to be during the Playhouse night, live television.
Oh, I mean,
a lot of funny things happened there.
yeah, I mean, they're trying to, yeah.
They weren't supposed to be funny.
No, and you know, trying to change your, huh?
The game show?
Oh, the charade show. Stump the Stars. I did Stump the Stars for a year in front of a live audience, and they would give you this card, and you had to read it, and then you had to act it out. And I'm not good at reading good. I was, what is this? What does this say? What does this say? You know, what does this say? I can't act it out if I don't know what it says. You know, oh, I was so bad. It was and somebody said to me once, you know, you were kind of the comic of charades. I said, I was? He said, yeah. I mean, you were. And I was, because I just...
You got fancy.
I just couldn't, I have a lot of energy, and I can act it out, but some of these words I didn't get. I was so bad. But, and Ross Martin, who was very smart, and so, you know, when I was his partner, he would get so mad at me. And I would just, you know, I would take, I don't know whether any of you have ever seen some of the things in Stump the Stars, but I would go up to my group and just, you know, practically kill them if they didn't get it. Get it! So, yeah, that was very good. Yeah. That was such a good show. That was so fun. Oh.
Now, this is a question I kind of previewed for her, which we think is a funny question. Which do you find most stimulating, your many business and civic activities or your acting career?
Well, civic! There is nothing like being on a board of directors day after day, making decisions that nobody wants, other decisions that nobody cares. Why would anyone be an actress, for God's sake? It's my answer.
Okay. All right. Now, this I'm not quite sure I understand. What do you think about unknown SAG actors becoming stars? That's the way it works.
Well, we were all unknown.
That's the way it works.
You know, we were all unknown. I mean, nobody knew us, you know. And some of these people that are unknown became stars. Is that not true?
Yeah.
I mean, what do you have
I
a
mean,
better
what do you
question?
think about it? That's the way it works.
I think if that happens, it happens, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, there are often times when somebody is not a very good actor and they become a star.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely. And
what are you going to do?
You know,
I
there are
mean-
a lot of there are a lot of people that have become stars, and you know, it's the way of the way of the yin and the yang, I guess. You know, as I said to you before, some of you probably are so damn good, and you may never, ever get there. You know, people say it takes luck. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. I think if you really, really want to be an actor or an actress, that you have to just make up your mind that you're going to do it, and you're going to stick with it, and it'll happen. I believe it'll happen. But there are many people, I mean, you know, my wonderful friend who was in Gunsmoke, what was her name? Amanda Blake.
Amanda.
I mean, Amanda Blake became a star, a television star. She never did anything but Gunsmoke. That's all she did. And she became a star, you know, a television star. I didn't become a television star, really. I mean, I've done everything, you know. You just can't, you just don't know. I mean, you can be the star of a wonderful series that goes on and on and on and on, which is fabulous. You can work today in Friends and get $1 million a week, you know? I mean,
amazing. That's
just
amazing.
Unbelievable. You don't know in this business what is going to happen. And you don't know whether if you might hit it lucky and become a star. But, you know, if you do become a star, and you hit it lucky and become a star, you know, just be nice about it, you know, because it was not that you weren't good, you were for what you were doing, but it could have happened to anybody, really, you know. Friends could have happened to any one of you. It didn't, you know, but it could have. So it's hard to put a stamp on that, don't you think, Bonnie? What do you think?
I remember so well when I was in therapy in New York, and I had
we all go to therapy.
my brother was a fabulous gambler. He put himself through college playing cards, and he really made money. He was a good gambler. And I remember I said, how come Bob and I are so different? I said to my doctor, I mean, I'm terrified to lose a nickel. I mean, I can't do anything. I can't gamble, and he's this great gambler. And the doctor said, what do you mean? He said, you gambled with your whole life. And I thought that was very interesting.
Very, very good.
You gambled with your whole
life.
Because I was a college graduate, I was valedictorian, I could have been a lawyer, anything.
Yes, you
know.
Could have.
And,
you could have been a psychiatrist.
Even a psychiatrist. Yeah, even a psychiatrist. And that's true. It is. Because you never know what's going to happen.
You don't know. You don't have any idea.
You want them to like you. You want them to hire you,
it's hard. It's hard. It's not easy. And you know, now, of course, now at the age I am, you know, I go on these interviews to these small little children. You know, well, who was the actor that, you know, somebody like, let's see, somebody, well, let's say just for the hell of it, let's take somebody like Jack Nicholson, you know, who goes in and they say to him, tell me what you've done. And he looks at them and says, you first. It's that kind of thing, you know? So you just, you know, if it comes to you, it comes, and it's very short. I mean, it's you know, life goes by so fast, so fast. I mean, I can't believe it. I mean, I still think I'm 23, you know?
Yes, probably all.
And if I'm not 23, then I'm only 42, you know? And none of that's true. So it goes fast, and just you just got to make the best of it. And if you don't become a star, just be the best you can be, the best. You know how to do it and do it well, and you know, be there, and I must say, it's a wonderful profession. It's a lousy profession, but it can be wonderful too, you know? So, I don't know, it's very hard to give anybody advice to.
Very. You can't.
It's
Who
hard.
are you to judge?
You know,
You know,
yeah,
who
am I
say?
to say anything, you know? I do think I guess it has a lot to do with luck. Do you think it has a lot to do with luck? I don't know whether it does. I don't know that, you know?
Sort of being in the right place at the right time.
But how in the world can you do that?
Well, you can't.
You know?
That's
No.
the luck that they
Yeah,
need.
I don't know. I don't.
Are there is there anybody out in the audience? You want to get them, Bob?
Yeah, and if you do have a question, let me come to you with the mic so we can get you
We have one over
on
here.
audio. Just raise your hand. I will come to you. This is Jill Hesseltine.
I'm going to stand up. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. First of all, I don't know where you got the idea that you are not bright, but you are just nothing but bright and vivacious, and I'm just sitting in my seat. I'm inspired by your energy.
Oh, aren't you nice to say that?
And I feel really good about coming and hearing all this and meeting you. So my question is there any role in your career that you have not done yet that you're still hungry to do? Because I know you like doing the wild.
Yes, I'd like to win the Academy Award.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Sounded like Lauren Bacall.
Yes, I would like to do that, but I don't think I will. However, wasn't there, who was the lady that did Titanic? And how old was she?
Gloria Stewart.
Well, you'd never know. You know, I could do that.
Are there any particular parts that you
I'd
wanted to play that you didn't?
Well, I would like to have played Queen Elizabeth. Isn't she the one that had no hair?
Yeah.
I love that.
Betty Davis.
Betty
did it.
Davis! I thought she was wonderful.
Yes, she was.
I'd like to play that, just like Betty played it, you know. I'd like to take my hair back like that. I'd love that. I'd like to do that. I don't know, yeah. I like, I don't think there's a part out there that I wouldn't like to play, you know. Just give me the script and I'll come, you know. So, you know, I love it all.
What is the shocking thing is when somehow somebody's talking about plays or something and you think, oh yeah, I'd like to play that part. And then somebody says to you, Bonnie, she's 40.
Yes,
And
I know.
you're 60.
That's right.
You know what I mean? That's a shock, isn't
That's
it?
a shock. I'm not
That's
even
a shock.
60 anymore, so it's really a shock.
Yeah,
You know?
it is.
No,
It's
it
a
is
shock.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Life goes by so fast, you know, so fast. I don't think there's anything that I wouldn't like to play. I'd like to play them all, and I'd like to have something really wonderful. And you never know. I mean, you know, somebody could call me and say, ta-da, and I could do it, and I could win the Academy Award. You don't know. You don't know. We'll just keep that thought.
Keep that thought.
Ms. Garland, I want to echo what the previous person said too about your energy. You could light up Los Angeles. A two-part question for you. One is, if you could talk a little bit about your acting technique. Obviously, you had so much work of such diversity that was there a particular acting technique that you used? And second, and that you still use. And the second part of it is, obviously, you know what you're doing, and I get the feeling on maybe some of the TV shows that you did, you were working opposite people who were maybe very famous but weren't great actors. How did you deal with that in such a way that you actually made them look like they did know what they were doing?
Oh, you're so sweet to say that.
Yes.
You know, I didn't, when you say technique, you know, I really feel like that I was born to be an actress. I didn't study, I'm sorry. I decided one time that I would go to a class, and I realized it was not for me, because when I tried to do my part, I can remember her saying, do this, do that, go there, da-da, don't forget, beep boop, bop bop, beep beep. I was so confused that I said, I can't do that. I can't go to class. I just have to do it I have to think about it. I have to know it. I think knowing it is the big thing, because once you can get the bloody words out of your way, then you can really move with it. And when I go on auditions and I try to learn it, as I learn it, wonderful things come. Wonderful things come. And that comes, and that comes. And that's kind of how I do it. And that's probably certainly not the right way, but there is no right way.
There is no right way.
You know, it just comes from there. It comes deep down in there, and it comes out, and when it comes out, it's so glorious. You feel so good. You feel so, and you know you got it. When you feel good, you know you've got it. You've got it. That's all I can tell you. Isn't that awful? Wish we were better than that. But that's kind of where I come from.
But that's you.
But that's how I do it.
That's her, yeah.
You know? And that certainly isn't the way anybody else should do it. That's how I do it. And it works for me. And I'm very, I really get into it, and it becomes me. And I can remember my husband saying to me, I can't wait for this show to be over, because I'd sure like to find out where you are. As you're playing this lady, you know, because I get her, and I don't want to leave her, you know, and she begins to kind of, you know, work in my house with me, and, you know, so it's not always so good. But I take her on, and she gets in there, and then she spills it out. And that's kind of where I am. That's kind of what I do. And everybody does it differently, you know. And it always fascinates me. That question fascinates me, because I love to listen to actors to find out. I used to say to myself, what is a technique? What? How? Where do you get it? I mean, I didn't go to the actor's studio. I went, you know, with the balloons. She got grace.
She got grace.
Max Freeman, do you have a favorite director that helps you to get you to be you in interpretation?
Well, you know, most of the directors that I've worked with don't really direct. Strangely enough, I haven't worked with those fabulous directors that we talk about all the time, that people win Academy Awards about and all of that, the kind of thing. Or, you know, the most directors that I work with hire actors that they know are good, and they leave them alone. I haven't worked with a lot of directors. A couple of directors I've worked with that I thought were just horrendously horrible, and wanted me to do things that I just thought were abominable.
Did you do it?
Well, I tried not to, but there are times when you just kind of have to, halfway. But I come over fairly strong. And I think they get that.
Hi, I've got a question.
Yeah.
I think you're so fabulous. I'm really enjoying this. I wanted to ask you, have you ever thought about having your own talk show?
Well, no. Have you?
You know what? If I had the power to hire you, I would.
Yeah, everybody.
I feel like you're such a natural. You would be so awesome at it, because you could do so many things with the show, and you've just got the personality for it, and you're so vivacious and.
Well, thank you.
If I had the power to do that, I would.
Well, if you had the power to do it, I would be there.
Okay. Well, we're putting that energy out into the universe, and you never know what will happen.
That'd be fun, huh? Yeah. I don't know.
Would be good.
You know, I don't know. I don't know. Nobody's ever asked me to do that. And the thing I think about talk shows, I think Ellen DeGeneres has a great show. I love her, and I love that lady. I just love that lady. And I did a couple of shows with her, and I just think she's the best. And I think when you're, you know, I've worked with a lot of talk show people, and I find when a long time ago, you know, when you'd be interviewed on a talk show like Carson and who's wonderful, Jane Meadows is. Steve Allen, but Steve Allen never shut up, you know. So it was wonderful to be on the Steve Allen show, but he talks all the time. I find that a lot of talk show men love to talk. That's why they're doing it, I guess. You know, they don't care what you say.
The women are better, right?
Yeah, I mean, they just talk. And I think that when you do a talk show, you've got to let other people talk.
Yeah.
You know, I have to let you talk, not me. I mean, I'm on every day, but you're not. So I think that you know, I think talk show people that are interviewed that do what you're talking about should do it in a way that you can speak, don't you? Yeah, I do too.
I think Oprah's terrific.
Oh, Oprah's
She's
fabulous.
amazing. She's amazing.
Yes, she's
Whenever I have watched that,
Yeah,
you know.
she's an amazing woman.
She's like a saleswoman too.
She's an amazing woman, and she said, you know, when I do this show, you watch out because it's going to be a hell of a show. And we all went, who's Oprah Winfrey, for God's sake? You're not going to do anything. Look at that show. She is incredible, that show. She's just wonderful. And there's a talent.
Oh yeah.
There's an incredible talent. Yeah, I'd like to do that. I could never do that, but I'd like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
You could have.
I just
See, you just don't know what's going to turn up in life,
no,
do you?
know, you never know. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You don't know what next week's going to bring. You don't know, and that's what's so fun about this business because you don't know. You know, the phone. You know how it is. You as actresses, you know how it is. All of a sudden, the phone rings. Wow! You know, you're on your way, boy. You know, you just don't know. And every time that phone rings, I go, oh, maybe.
We were talking about Betty Davis, and one of my other very favorite actors was Claude Rains.
Oh,
I just thought he was such a great actor. And I worked with his daughter once. She actually was understudying me in a play. And I said, oh, your father, I mean, my God. Wow. I mean, he was just so great. He was just so wonderful. She said, you know something? She said, do you know what I remember about my father, the thing I remember most about my father? I said, what's that? She said, him waiting for the telephone to ring. I got so depressed.
Yes.
I got so depressed. That was so sad.
That we all do that.
He,
Of all people.
yeah, who
You know.
was a hero for
Yes,
me.
yes, yes. Yes, I know.
That he
I know.
that he was sad and down and looking for a job.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is.
I know.
You're always looking for a job.
You're always looking for a job.
Always looking for a job.
Yeah. It's a career that you're always waiting for the next time, the next thing to come along, the next phone to ring, the next letter to arrive, the next interview. And you go on millions of interviews.
And you have
I
to
mean,
be
you
able
know,
to.
I still, you know, I have to read no matter where I am. You know, hello, you know. I
But you
told
didn't used to.
No, I didn't
See,
used
it
to.
didn't used to be that way.
No.
You used to build a career.
Yeah, and then they would call and say, we want Beverly to do Banana.
And that's the way, and producers and directors cast it, and
that was it.
And that was it.
And
now
now
you have to go through so much.
Yes, you have these young 20-year-olds that don't know who the hell you are and don't care who you are. I just,
Beverly,
yes.
hi.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He made me do that. I wanted to let you girls keep talking. My name's Tennessee Winston Luke. This question has got to do with memorization of lines.
Oh my God, honey, don't tell me. That is the hardest thing for me to do.
Well, are you opposed to the ear talk system and people standing behind you in a curtain giving you the lines or the chalk on the board as opposed to just memorizing them?
Well, I never had anybody do that. You mean people stand behind you and give you a line?
Brando had a little
Oh,
ear
I know
thing.
he did.
Oh,
yeah.
how do you do that?
I don't know. I'd love that.
I couldn't do it. I wouldn't like that.
I don't know whether I could do it or not. I don't know. I just know that as I get older, it is so hard for me to memorize. It really, it is hard for me. It's just hard. And I just have to go over it and 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 over it. Everybody knows the lines but me. You know, I just, it's very difficult for me. I didn't used to be that way, but as you get older, it just seems to me that it is harder to memorize. And, you know, now I like to do, you know, voiceovers or something where I can read. Cart is great, you know. Radio is wonderful. They have the script, you read it, you know. But I've never done that. I don't know. And don't they have those little things you can put in your ear?
Yeah.
Yes, the ear
But how
talk.
how can you do that? How can you act that way? How can you get any timing out of that?
Well, I went to some classes and it seems to transfigure you.
It transfigures you?
Yes.
How?
Like you're putting the lines beforehand on a tape recorder down here where your leg is, and then you're giving it little signals so whenever it's your time to talk, you can hear yourself talk.
Ooh.
And so you're going over. You're going over yourself. It transfigures you.
Wow.
You go over the
You go over the lines
as you hear them?
as you hear them, and this way it transfigures you. And it really improves your ability to look on the tape. You can actually see how it's transfiguring you.
Transfigure.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Well, the world is changing.
There's a question over there.
Hold up. Hi, Beverly. Bill Blair.
Yes, Bill.
I followed a lot of what you've done, but I was not aware of the Planet of the Apes. Did you
Oh,
wear
yes,
that
I did the
makeup and
television
everything?
show.
Yeah. What was it like for you wearing the makeup?
Oh,
All
it
the
was-
different characters that
That's
you've
gotta
done,
be
does
horrible.
it change how you come across with yourself, even when you look in the mirror and on camera from the dailies? Do you see yourself any differently?
Yeah,
As a matter of fact.
I did see myself differently. You know, you go in and when you're cast to do this show, The Planet of the Apes, in that time, you go and they say, all right, now we want you to come in a day early because we have to do some plastic molds for your face, and we have to teach you how to walk, and because you have to walk a certain way, your legs have to move a certain way when you're an ape that you didn't really realize, you know. You can't just go in like this, you know. So they teach you how to walk, and then they do, they make plastic molds out of certain, your mouth and your eyebrows and your ears and your whole nose, and then they make the mold, and then they put it into they make it out of rubber, and it takes almost 3 hours in the morning to be made up, and then you cannot eat because your mouth is here, and this is there you are, and this is where your mouth is now when they get all the stuff, you get? So it's way out there, and you can get a straw through there, which is okay, so you can drink your lunch. And, but I loved it. It was so fun. And I played Wanda, the doctor, and I was the only ape that wore glasses. And my little boy, my little James, was probably 3. And my husband brought him out to the set. And we're all sitting around, all of us apes. And you're an ape, she's an ape, and we're all talking. And my little boy comes in, and he doesn't mind talking to you because that woman there who is wearing the glasses sounds like my mother, but she couldn't be because she's an ape. But I like you, you're an ape, and I like all you other apes. I'm not so sure about this ape at all. And he wouldn't kiss me. He couldn't kiss me, but he wouldn't, he wouldn't sit on my lap. I mean, he was like this with me, And so the makeup man said, all right, he said, it's the last shot, and we'll just do this. And then I think what we ought to do is have him come into the makeup room, and then I will take off your makeup, because they had to peel it off because they had to do certain things, and all the glue and the junk you had to wear. And so I'm sitting in the makeup chair, and he's sitting there, and he's fascinated watching this ape, which has his mother's voice, but certainly isn't, because it's an ape, I guess. He doesn't know. And so they begin to take off my face. And he looks at me, slides down, and leaves as fast as he can. Scared to death. I mean, they're taking this ape's face away, and has something to do with my mother, but I don't know. Oh, it was a kick and a half. It was a kick and a half. And then the last day of shooting, they said, all right, go on into the makeup room and we'll take off your... I said, no, I'm going to drive home like this. They said, what? I said, I'm going to, I can keep this face now because nobody wants it. So I drove home in my car. It was the best time I had.
You are a real exhibitionist.
I know. The best. Oh, dear. There were no accidents, but, there were some strange-looking people looking at us. Well, I think we've done it. We have no more questions, right?
No?
I just want to tell all of you, I want to thank you so much for letting me come, and letting me speak, and all of you who are in this crazy business that we're in. I wish you the very, very best from the bottom of my heart. I know how hard it can be. I know how frustrating it can be. And I know how glorious it can be. So my love to all of you, and good luck to all of you.